Welcome to Whatif tutorials. In this tutorial we will be looking at the creation of a sales budget in the sales budgeting module. First we'll be looking at the budget structure. Secondly, we'll be creating a budget, and thirdly we'll be adding budget headers to that budget. From the Sales Budgets main menu, click Create Edit Budgets. This brings us into the budget master file. We have two budgets here. Budget 1 is created within factory chairs. It's a description and the total sales cost margin, percent sales, GST, sales including freight, GST freight, and total value. We've got two here. To create a new budget, you can click here and let's say we want to create a third budget. We select the factory, we put in a budget description, we select the applicable date range, usually a year. There. Now we have to choose between, for a default I should say, and there are two types of product that can be added to our budget. It's either a product item from the costing module, and this comes in terms of quantity, price and standard cost, or we can create value or service items here in the budgeting module. And these come in terms of sales dollars and percent gross margin. This is just the default. You can add either or both of these types of items to a budget header. Next, we select a default phasing code for this budget, and the phasing codes are the percentages to each month. And in the case of product items, these are applied to the quantity, the annual quantity, to determine the monthly quantities, and in the case of the value items it applies to the sales value phased over the months. Now you'll notice there are two columns here. One is for planned price changes. So if you're planning to make price changes, these are the defaults for this budget. Once again, they can be changed for each budget header. We might be planning a 5% change and then another 3% there. And the second column is for cost changes. Now, with inflation, you might be looking at a steady increase in costs simply due to inflation from the current standard. Or you might in fact be looking at a negative or a reduction in costs due to productivity or efficiency or other cost factors. Anyway, these are simply the defaults for this whole budget. They can be changed for each budget header. Next, we have to decide on the budget structure that we are going to use in this budget. Now, this is very important. What we're saying here is that we need to decide on the level of detail we want our budget to be built on. I mean, you can go to the nth degree of down to the lowest level of detail, or you can look at in broader numbers. Now, what we're doing here is we're saying there are 4 variables that you can use in combination to delineate one budget header from another. So if you decide that you want a budget by salesperson and you want a budget by market type, then you click those and you'll be required to enter budget headers by salesperson, by market type. If you are not interested in that, you are simply interested in budgeting by customer, then you can do that. Or you can have customer within salesperson. It's probably not terribly useful to have all 4. It's probably better to choose 2. Anyway, that's up to you. So we'll, for our sake of this argument, we'll say we'll have a salesperson and a state, or we'll have a market type and a state. Okay, so close. So now we have created the budget defaults. Now that we're in there, we have, as I just went through, we've determined the default price, default change in cost. We've got the phasing factor default, the type of product item, and the default price increases and cost increases, as well as the structure. The structure we've determined is going to be state and type. So having done that, we now are ready to start adding detail to the budget. So if we click budget headers here, you'll see in the yellow section here we have the budget headers, and in the bottom section we have that, but they're blank at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll go back to an existing budget here, and we'll go budget headers items there. So here we can see more carefully or clearly what it looks like. So here in this first budget header, we have got budget header 53, and it's a combination of New South Wales retail. So that total sales cost and so on refers to the total for New South Wales retail, and the makeup of that total sales value there of 1.9 million is made up of these items which have been entered. So that is the budget structure we refer to. If we look at editing the header, you can see here that we don't have any access to customer and salesperson, because we've said that the structure of this budget header will be, or this budget will be, state and market type. Now you have 2 further describers here, so that if you want to, you can say, yes, I'll have a header for New South Wales retail, and then I will look at perhaps the own distributors who get 20% discount. So that means you could have another budget header with New South Wales and retail, but have another discount group. So this is just getting back to the question of how much detail you want to create, and in particular how many budget headers you need to create in order to get the correct analysis of your budget. Okay, so this is the editing of the budget header. These values arise from entering budget items. Now I mentioned in the earlier part that the budget has a default for price cost changes. Now you can here say for this particular budget header we're not going to have a price increase there. So this is a further control over how you build your budget for this particular header. Okay, so that is how we been through this. We create a budget header. Let's create one more. So we'll say we'll make that phasing factor that, and we will make this state say Queensland, and we'll make the market type sales outlets, and we won't put anything further describing it there. We'll put Queensland sales outlets as a describer there, and we will put in another, we'll put this price increase down here rather than up there. Now the point of timing these percentage changes is very important, because this will determine how the sales and the costs for the year are built, because they are built from the current price and the current cost, and these are applied along with the phasing factors to determine the total sales value and the total cost value. Okay, so that is now, that's an item that's been created in the budget header item. Now the next step is to add individual budget lines or items to each budget header, and that's the subject of another tutorial. So that's the end of this tutorial.